Hey everyone, today we're recording in English because this video is for my American friends, since there's so much confusion about tariffs and who it hurts or who's paying for it and what are the fundamentals about it, who are the winners and losers. So let's go through some of the most structural things about a tariff. If we look at a simple supply and demand curve right here, we see that, say, if this is a market for bikes, there is a domestic price with its quantity inside the United States. And there's also a world price, which could be slightly lower since there are more effective, at least cost effective ways of manufacturing bikes outside of the United States. So you see that maybe the domestic price will be way above 300, but the world price is set at $300 per bike. And so then the situation is that the imports will be about 1 million bikes per year, since the world price would meet the US domestic demand at point E, and US domestic suppliers, the supply curve SD, will meet the world price at B, right? Meaning US suppliers from A to B, they can still produce cheaper than the global price, and so they can make a profit. While if you make bikes more expensive than $300, it's probably not a good idea for you to get into this market. While for global producers, they can still make bikes slightly cheaper, right? So they can continue to produce, and it's not shown in this graph. But if we look at the demand side, U.S. Consumers, they'll be able to buy bikes for $300, right? So previously, people who may not be able to afford it, now they can afford it all the way till the last person at point E, who is willing to pay $300. Previously, someone who's willing to pay $300 may not be able to afford a bike in the United States that might be costing $330, let's say. Okay, so this is the basic setup that the United States domestically is producing 0.6 million and is importing 1 million bikes per year, and therefore the total market for bikes in the United States will be 1.6 million per year. And now a tariff is imposed on bikes imported to the United States. So now bikes are sold at $330 in this market. And because of that, we see that previously someone in the United States who may cost them $315 to produce a bike, previously it was not a good idea. And now, because you can sell each bike for $330, it's now a good idea because you can make a profit, right? So more U.S. suppliers can make money or maybe even enter the market with a tariff. Producers are being protected. While consumers, you will see that with a tariff, the bike is becoming more expensive, and so less people can afford it, and so we see consumer surplus shrinking. And so if we look at who the winners and the losers are, it's quite clear that consumers will be the big losers, that their large triangle of CFE would shrink to HFG. So they're losing areas of A, B, C, and D. While U.S. domestic producers, they gain extra, right? So suppliers' surplus has now increased by the area of A. And because it's a tariff collected by the US government, and by the way, importers inside the United States will pay for it, Area C is basically the new revenue for the government in the form of a tax, actually, because US consumers, US buyers are paying for it. So now it's clear, right? Winners tend to be A and C, which is suppliers and government. Losers would be the consumers. They lose A, B, C, and D. And so the entire economy lose by areas of B and D. That's what we call dead weight loss. So just to use simple English, we see that for the entire economy, when anybody imposes a tariff, usually it's a loss. Right now, there are unique situations of a buyer being a dominant buyer or other scenarios that you can coerce another country to change its price very easily. We're not talking about these rare situations, but in general, right? The winners would be the government and the producers. The losers will be consumers, but then the amount the consumers lose will be bigger than the gain achieved by producers and the government. And the net loss is areas B and D, right? So the Trump administration is very happy because it got extra revenue. Some of the producers who's being protected by new tariffs, they're happy, but American consumers are facing higher prices, and here is inflation, right? But because the cost is shouldered by virtually everyone who is buying these products, and so the incremental change might be small, and people may not organize to protest it. So politically, it makes a lot of sense, but economically, it doesn't make sense at all.